The Lonely Engineer. Marcus Webb wiped the sweat from his forehead, the recycled air in the mining outpost's commissary doing little to cool him down. 6 months on this forsaken planet, and he still wasn't used to the artificial atmosphere, the constant hum of machinery, or the crushing isolation that came with being light years from anything remotely familiar. "Excuse me," a voice like distant thunder interrupted his thoughts. "Is anyone sitting here?" Marcus looked up from his protein ration and froze, his fork suspended halfway to his mouth. Before him stood a woman whose skin shimmered in shades of deep purple, like twilight made flesh. Her hair fell in dark waves past her shoulders, and her eyes held a depth that reminded him of nebulas he'd seen through telescopes. "No, please," he managed, gesturing to the empty seat across from him. "Thank you," she said, setting down her tray. "I'm Kira. I work as an interpreter between your people and mine. Marcus, systems engineer." An awkward silence settled between them as other colonists glanced their way with varying degrees of curiosity and discomfort. Marcus noticed how Kira's fingers trembled slightly as she reached for her cup, how she seemed to make herself smaller in her seat. "I apologize for the intrusion," she said quietly. "The other tables were full, and I thought perhaps—" "Don't apologize," Marcus interrupted, surprising himself with his firmness. "I'm glad for the company, actually. 6 months here, and I think I've had maybe 3 real conversations." Kira's expression softened, a smile playing at the corners of her lips. "Only 3? You're doing better than I am. Most humans preferred to communicate through datapads rather than speak with me directly." "That's insane," Marcus said. "You're doing them a service." "Am I? Or am I just a convenient tool, someone who can translate words but not bridge understanding?" The bitterness in her voice struck something in Marcus. He knew that feeling, that sense of being useful but not valued, present but not seen. "I know what you mean," he said. "Back on Earth, I was just another cog in the machine. Out here, I'm the guy who fixes things when they break. Nobody asks how I'm doing or what I think about anything beyond repair schedules." Kira met his eyes then, really looked at him, and Marcus felt something shift in his chest. There was recognition there, a mirror of his own loneliness. "It's exhausting, isn't it? Being among so many people, yet feeling completely alone." "Exhausting," he agreed. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the commissary's noise fading into background static. Marcus found himself noticing details, the way the overhead lights caught the subtle variations in her purple skin, creating patterns like oil on water. How her fingers were longer than human proportions, elegant and graceful. The way she held herself with a dignity that seemed innate, rather than learned. "What do you miss most?" Kira asked suddenly. "About your home." Marcus considered the question. "Honestly, the ocean. Growing up near the coast, I used to spend hours just watching the waves. There's something about that rhythm, that constant motion. It made me feel connected to something bigger." Kira's eyes lit up. "We have something similar. There are magnetic fields that flow across our planet, invisible rivers of energy. Our people can sense them, feel them moving through us. It's like swimming in an ocean you can't see." "That sounds incredible." "Would you like to experience it sometime?" The words tumbled out of her, then she seemed to catch herself, pulling back. "I mean, if you're interested, for research purposes." "I'd like that. Not for research, just because I'd like to understand." The way Kira looked at him then, with a mixture of surprise and something warmer, made Marcus's pulse quicken. "Tomorrow evening," she suggested, "after your shift ends, I know a place where the fields are particularly strong." "It's a date," Marcus said, then immediately wondered if he should have phrased it differently. But Kira's smile only widened. "Yes," she said softly, "I suppose it is."
Breaking barriers. The observation deck was empty when Marcus arrived, his heart hammering against his ribs with an anticipation he hadn't felt in years. The transparent dome overhead revealed the planet's twin suns setting in a spectacular display of orange and violet, casting everything in an otherworldly glow. "You came," Kira's voice came from behind him, filled with what sounded like relief. "Of course I came." Marcus turned to find her wearing flowing garments that seemed to ripple with their own internal light, nothing like the practical human clothing she'd worn in the commissary. "Did you think I wouldn't?" "I wasn't sure," she admitted, moving to stand beside him at the viewing window. "Humans often make promises they don't keep, especially to my people." Marcus felt a pang of guilt for humanity's failures. "I'm not like that." "I'm beginning to believe you," Kira said, her shoulder almost touching his. "Close your eyes." "What?" "Trust me," she whispered. "Close your eyes and tell me what you feel." Marcus obeyed, his other senses sharpening in the darkness. He felt Kira's presence beside him, the subtle warmth radiating from her skin, smelled something like ozone and wildflowers. "Now," her voice came closer, "I'm going to show you how my people communicate when words aren't enough." Even through his closed eyelids, Marcus sensed a change in the light. When he opened his eyes, he gasped. Kira's hands were glowing, soft pulses of bioluminescence that seemed to dance across her skin in intricate patterns. "It's beautiful," he breathed. "Each pattern has meaning," she explained, her hands moving through the air like a conductor leading an orchestra. "This one means joy, this one curiosity, and this," her movement slowed, became more deliberate, "this one means connection." The light patterns swirled between them, and Marcus felt something he couldn't quite name, a resonance that seemed to vibrate through his bones. "Can you feel it?" Kira asked. "Yes," he whispered. "It's like music I can feel instead of hear." Her face lit up with delight. "Exactly, you understand." Without thinking, Marcus reached out and took her hand. The bioluminescence flowed around their joined fingers, creating new patterns neither had made alone. Kira's breath caught, her eyes widening. "I've never," she started, then stopped. "That's never happened before, with a human." "What does it mean?" "I don't know," she admitted, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she stepped closer, her free hand coming up to rest against his chest. "Your heart is racing." "So is yours," Marcus felt, the rapid pulse through their connected palms. "This is dangerous," Kira said, though she made no move to leave. "We could both face consequences." "I know." "We could face consequences." "I know that too." She pulled back just enough to look up at him. "Then why does it feel so right?" Marcus cupped her face in his hands, marveling at the softness of her skin, the way she leaned into his touch. "Because maybe, just maybe, some rules are meant to be broken." The bioluminescence around Kira's skin flared brighter, patterns Marcus was learning to recognize as emotion made visible. "I see you," she whispered, "more clearly than I've seen anyone in a very long time." "Show me more," Marcus said. "Show me everything about your world." Over the next hour, Kira taught him the basics of her people's light language. She showed him how to read the subtle shifts in color that indicated mood, how certain patterns could convey complex ideas that human words struggled to express. In return, Marcus pulled out his portable music player. "This is from Earth," he said, selecting a piece. "It's called a nocturne, meant to evoke nighttime reflection." As the piano melody filled the observation deck, Kira closed her eyes and swayed slightly. "I can see it," she murmured. "The music creates colors in my mind, blues and silvers, like moonlight on water." "You experience music as color?" "All Celestines do." She opened her eyes, which now shimmered with unshed tears. "But I've never heard human music before. It's so achingly beautiful." Marcus scrolled through his collection. "Here, try this one." He played a livelier piece, something with rhythm and energy. Kira's expression transformed into joy, her body moving in ways that seemed impossible, fluid and graceful as she danced to the unfamiliar sounds. "Dance with me," she extended her hand. "I don't know how." "Neither do I, not to this music. We'll figure it out together." Marcus let her pull him into motion, stumbling at first, but gradually finding a rhythm.
Their bodies moved closer until there was barely any space between them. Kira's head rested against his shoulder, her warmth seeping through his shirt. "This is dangerous," she said softly. "I know. We could both face consequences. I know that too." She pulled back just enough to look up at him. "Then why does it feel so right?" Marcus cupped her face in his hands, marveling at the softness of her skin, the way she leaned into his touch. "Because maybe, just maybe, some rules are meant to be broken."
The confession. The emergency alarm shattered the peaceful moment, red lights flashing throughout the observation deck. Marcus's communicator crackled to life with urgent voices reporting a massive magnetic storm approaching the outpost. "All personnel to emergency stations," the announcement echoed through the corridors. "This is not a drill." "I need to get to the communications tower," Marcus said, already moving toward the exit. "If the storm hits and we lose our relay systems—" "I'm coming with you," Kira said firmly. "It's dangerous." "I can help navigate the magnetic disturbances," she insisted. "My people can sense them. You'll need me." They ran through the deserted corridors, the outpost's population already secured in reinforced shelters. The communications tower stood at the edge of the complex, vulnerable but essential. As they climbed the access ladder, the first waves of the storm hit, sending electromagnetic pulses that made the metal structure hum and vibrate. Inside the tower's control room, Marcus worked frantically at the main console, rerouting power and activating backup systems. Kira stood by the window, her eyes closed, her skin glowing with patterns he'd never seen before. "The storm is stronger than predicted," she said, her voice strained. "It's going to hit directly." "How long do we have?" "Minutes, maybe less." Marcus's fingers flew across the keyboards, implementing emergency protocols. "I can't lock down everything in time." "Then prioritize," Kira moved to his side. "What's most critical?" "The main relay, the backup generators, and the structural shields," he rattled off. "But I need at least 10 minutes. "We have 5. Kira placed her hands on the console. "Let me help." Before Marcus could ask how, she pressed her palms against the metal surface. The bioluminescence from her skin spread across the equipment, flowing into the circuits like liquid light. The systems responded, processes that should have taken minutes, completing in seconds. "How are you doing that?" Marcus watched in amazement. "My people, we can interface directly with electromagnetic systems," Kira explained, her voice tight with concentration. "It's draining, but I can speed up the processes." The storm hit with full force, shaking the entire tower. Marcus grabbed Kira as she swayed, pulling her away from the console. "That's enough. You've done enough." "The shields," Kira gasped, "are at 80%, good enough. You're exhausted." The tower's emergency shutters slammed closed, plunging them into darkness, except for the emergency lighting and Kira's fading glow. They were locked in, safe, but trapped until the storm passed. "How long?" Marcus asked. "Hours, maybe until morning." Kira leaned against him, her legs trembling. He guided her to the small rest area in the corner, nothing more than a bench and some emergency supplies. They sat close together, the storm raging outside, creating an eerie symphony of wind and electromagnetic interference. "That was incredible what you did," Marcus said. "It was necessary," Kira replied, but her voice carried a note of something else. Fear, perhaps. "What's wrong?" She was quiet for a long moment, her fingers tracing absent patterns on her knees. "You saw what I can do, what my people can do. Is that all you see when you look at me? A useful tool?" "What? No, Kira, that's not—" "Because that's what most humans see. We're valuable because we're useful. We can navigate magnetic fields, we can interface with technology, we can translate languages. But beyond that, we're too different, too alien, too ugly." "Ugly? You think you're ugly?" Kira laughed was bitter. "I know what I am. I've seen how humans look at each other. The women with their smooth skin in shades of cream and brown and gold, their proportionate features, their familiar beauty. Then they look at me and I see it in their eyes, the fascination mixed with revulsion. I'm exotic, interesting, but not beautiful, not in the way that matters." "Kira," Marcus reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "In the commissary yesterday, I'd overheard some of your engineers talking. They were laughing about how desperate someone would have to be to find a Celestine attractive. One of them said we looked like bruises that learned to walk. Rage flooded through Marcus. Who said that? Tell me who. It doesn't matter. Kira wrapped herself around her. Compared to human women... Stop, Marcus said firmly. Just stop. He moved in front of her, kneeling so they were eye level. In the dim emergency lighting, her purple skin seemed to glow from within, patterns of light flickering just beneath the surface like stars trying to break through clouds. You want to know what I see when I look at you? He asked. I see someone who's brilliant enough to master 3 languages, brave enough to bridge 2 worlds, and kind enough to help a lonely engineer feel less alone. I see someone who experiences music as color, who can make flowers bloom with her touch, who just saved an entire outpost without a second thought about her own safety. Marcus, I'm not finished, he said gently. Yes, your skin is purple, and it's the most beautiful shade I've ever seen. It reminds me of twilight skies and deep ocean trenches and nebulas photographed from telescopes. Your eyes hold entire galaxies. Your hands create light and life. And when you smile, really smile, it's like watching a sunrise. Tears spilled down Kira's cheeks, luminescent tracks that glowed softly. You don't have to say these things. I'm not saying them because I have to. Marcus reached up to wipe away her tears, his thumb tracing the line of her cheekbone. I'm saying them because they're true, because you need to hear them. Because whoever told you that you weren't beautiful was either blind or cruel or both. Kira's hands came up to cover his, pressing his palms against her face. No one has ever. Then they were fools, Marcus said. Every single one of them. The space between them seemed to collapse. Kira leaned forward, her forehead resting against his, their breath mingled in the small space between their lips. I'm scared, she admitted. Scared of wanting this, wanting you. Scared of what it means. Me too, Marcus confessed. Terrified, actually. But? He asked. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe and alone without you. Kira made a sound between a laugh and a sob. Then her lips found his, tentative at first, questioning. Marcus answered by pulling her closer, deepening the kiss. Her lips were warmer than a human's, softer, and when she sighed against his mouth, he tasted something sweet like honey and starlight. They broke apart, both breathing hard. Kira's entire body was glowing now, patterns of light dancing across her skin in ways that seemed to echo her heartbeat. Is that normal? Marcus asked, awed. I don't know, Kira laughed, the sound pure and joyful. She kissed him again, her fingers threading through his hair. Marcus ran his hands down her back, feeling the warmth of her through the thin fabric of her garments. The storm raged outside, but inside the tower, they created their own world. When they finally pulled apart, Kira rested her head against Marcus's chest, his arms wrapped securely around her. Stay with me, she whispered, until the storm passes. I'm not going anywhere, Marcus promised, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. Not now, not ever, if I can help it. In the darkness, holding each other close, they found a peace neither had known they were searching for.
Worlds colliding. The storm had passed by morning, but the real tempest was just beginning. Word of Marcus and Kira spending the night together in the communications tower spread through the outpost like wildfire. By the time they emerged, hand in hand, the reactions were immediate and harsh. Webb, my office, now. Administrator Hollis barked the moment Marcus entered the main complex. Marcus squeezed Kara's hand once before letting go. I'll find you later, he promised. In Hollis's office, the administrator paced like a caged animal. Have you lost your mind, fraternizing with a native, and not just any native, their interpreter? Do you understand the diplomatic complications? We weren't fraternizing, Marcus said calmly. We were saving the communications array during a Category 5 magnetic storm. And after, the entire night, we were trapped. The emergency protocols locked us in. Hollis leaned forward, his face reddening. I don't care about the technical details. This stops now. You will maintain professional distance from the Celestine woman, or I'll have you on the next transport back to Earth. No. Excuse me?
Marcus stood his ground. I said no. Kira is brilliant, dedicated, and has done more for human-Celestine relations than anyone on this outpost. If you have a problem with me caring about her, that's your issue, not mine. This is insubordination. This is my life, Marcus shut back, and I'm not going to pretend I don't feel what I feel because it makes you uncomfortable. He walked out before Hollis could respond, his hands shaking with adrenaline. Outside, he found Kira waiting, her expression troubled. The elders want to see me, she said quietly. They're not happy either. We knew this wouldn't be easy. Kira, they're talking about sending me away to another outpost where there's no human contact. His heart dropped. They can't do that. They can, and they will if they think I'm compromising our people's position here. Marcus pulled her into his arms, not caring who saw. Then we fight. Together. Over the next week, the pressure intensified. Colleagues who had been friendly now avoided Marcus. Kira faced similar isolation from her community, but they refused to hide, continuing to meet openly in the commissary, the observation deck, anywhere they could. The turning point came during a routine supply distribution. One of the senior engineers, Patterson, began berating Kara publicly when she questioned a shipment discrepancy. Maybe if you spent less time distracting our people and more time doing your actual job, we wouldn't have these problems, Patterson sneered. The shipment is short by 30%, Kira maintained calmly. The manifest clearly shows. Are you calling me a liar, you purple? Marcus was there before Patterson could finish, stepping between them. Finish that sentence, and you'll regret it. What are you going to do, Webb? Defend your little alien girlfriend? I'm going to defend someone who's doing her job correctly from a bully who's trying to skim supplies. And if you have a problem with Kira personally, you'll have to go through me. The room went silent. Then, unexpectedly, a voice spoke up. He's right, Dr. Rivera stepped forward. I've reviewed the manifests. Patterson has been shorting the Celestine community for months. Others began to murmur, checking their own records. More voices joined in, not all supportive, but enough to shift the dynamic. Patterson's face went pale as his scheme unraveled. That evening, Marcus and Kira sat in the observation deck, exhausted, but together. Did you see Rivera's face when she backed us up? Kira said, a small smile playing on her lips. I think we might have more allies than we thought. Kira leaned into him. It's still going to be hard. I know. Marcus kissed her temple. But you're worth every difficulty. So are you. A new understanding. 3 months later, the outpost had transformed in ways no one had anticipated. What began as Marcus and Kira's refusal to hide their relationship had sparked conversations throughout both communities. Not everyone approved, but slowly, gradually, walls began to come down. The cultural exchange program was Kira's idea, supported by Marcus's engineering, a shared space where humans and Celestines could teach each other not as superiors and subordinates, but as equals. Tonight was the grand opening. The converted cargo bay had been transformed with both human and Celestine design elements. Plants from both worlds grew side by side. Lighting systems created by collaborative efforts produced a warm, welcoming glow. Marcus stood at the entrance, greeting arrivals. He watched Kira across the room, explaining Celestine light communication to a group of fascinated human children. Her confidence had grown. The shame and insecurity she had carried had been replaced by pride in who she was. Never thought I'd see the day, Dr. Rivera said, appearing at his elbow. Humans and Celestines actually socializing voluntarily. People just needed someone to go first, Marcus replied. You two took a risk. It could have ended badly. It still might, Marcus admitted. But some things are worth the risk. Across the room, Kira caught his eye and smiled, that full, radiant smile that still made his heart race. She excused herself from the children and made her way to him, her hands sliding naturally into his. Are you ready for your speech? She asked. As ready as I'll ever be. They moved to the small stage together. The room quieted as Marcus began. 3 months ago, I was lonely, isolated, and convinced I understood how the universe worked. Then I met someone who showed me how wrong I was. Someone who taught me that beauty isn't about fitting into familiar categories, that connection transcends biology, and that love, real love, doesn't see boundaries, it breaks them down.
Kira took over, her voice carrying across the room. We're not here to tell you that humans and Celestines are the same. We're not. We're different in fundamental ways. But those differences don't have to divide us. They can enrich us, teach us, help us grow beyond what we thought possible. This cultural exchange is just the beginning, Marcus continued, a place where we can learn from each other, not as colonizers and natives, not as useful and used, but as people sharing a world. The applause started slowly, then built. Not everyone joined in. Marcus could see the skeptics, the ones who still clung to old prejudices. But enough did to fill the room with sound. As the evening progressed, Marcus watched transformations happen in real time. A Celestine elder teaching human engineers about magnetic navigation, human artists collaborating with Celestines on a light and paint installation, children of both species playing together without the hesitation of their parents. Late in the evening, Marcus and Kira slipped out to the observation deck, their private sanctuary. We did it, Kira said softly, looking up at the stars. We're doing it, Marcus corrected. This is just the start. She turned in his arms, her face glowing softly in the darkness. Do you ever regret it, that night in the commissary when I sat at your table? Never, Marcus said without hesitation. You saved me, Kira, from loneliness, from narrow-mindedness, from a half-lived life. You saved me too, she whispered. You showed me I was worthy of being seen, being loved, being chosen. Their kiss was tender, familiar now but no less electric. When they pulled apart, Kira's bioluminescence created patterns around them, a private light show. I love you, Marcus said. Purple skin, galaxy eyes, impossible beauty, and all. Kira laughed at that joyful sound he'd grown to cherish. And I love you, strange human who sees stars where others see strangeness. Below them, through the observation deck windows, they could see the cultural center still glowing with activity. Two communities learning to become one, inspired by two people who dared to love across the divide. What happens next? Kira asked. Marcus pulled her close, resting his chin on her head. We keep going, keep building, keep showing them it's possible. Together? Always together. The twin suns began to rise, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold, a perfect blend of their two worlds. Marcus and Kira stood watching, hands intertwined, knowing the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but certain they would walk it side by side. In the end, their love story wasn't about overcoming differences. It was about celebrating them. It wasn't about one world accepting another. It was about creating something new, something beautiful, something that could only exist when two people chose to see beyond the surface and find the extraordinary in each other. The end.